So, we're moving into chapter 11, and here's the reason why we're going to kind of stay right where we are. We just finished chapter 10, which was on adding decimals. Chapter 11 moves us right into subtracting decimals. So it feels like it's a really good transition to go ahead and stay right where we are and keep kind of moving in the direction that we are headed. Once this is completed, we will pretty much have finished the chunk of decimal stuff that we have to kind of do, okay? There is multiplication and there is division of decimals. But those are going to come after we do some additional multiplication and division practice. So we're going to go back to like the earlier chapters after we finish this one. Chapter 11 is probably going to move pretty quick. We're probably not going to have to spend a whole lot of time on this because first off, you already pretty much know how to play with decimals and you should already know how to subtract. So if we're just going to put those two things together, it's probably not going to be real brain-busting stuff, all right? So, title today's notes, Chapter 11, Subtracting Decimals. Go ahead, you can sharpen. I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of tell all of you this as we kind of enter into the season that could cause some sicknesses, and I don't mean like COVID, I mean like strep throats, ear infections, sinus infections, stomach bugs, the flu, those kinds of things that can pop up this time of the year. I want to tell all of you this, okay? So that everybody, not just my kiddos at home that watch the lessons that are recorded, but for all of you. If you ever miss school and I recorded a lesson, I will always put that recorded lesson into your Google Classroom as material, okay? It's not going to show up as something to do because when it's material, I'm not asking you to turn something into me. The Google Classroom looks at like, this is something I have to do, this is something I don't have to do. Material is just stuff to have, so it's not something you have to do. But my videos that I put out there, I give them to everybody. Not just the NTI kids, and not just the sick kids, but every 82 fifth grader that's here. Because let's say you're at home working on your homework assignment, and let's say you're having trouble. What could you do instead of email teachers or ask parents, what could you do to help you to figure this stuff out?
Go to your Google Classroom and watch part of the recording if you need to refresh.
Perfect. Just go to the Google Classroom, find that material, pull up that lesson that Ms. Malone recorded that day, and watch it. And that would help you to kind of figure this stuff out. So if you are ever sick from school, and some of us, I know there are days when we are sick and we just can't do nothing. We can't do anything. We just feel so terrible. But sometimes when we're sick for like 4 days in a row, the first day we might feel really like crummy. Day 2, we still feel crummy, but not so crummy. Then by day 3 and maybe even day 4, we're feeling a little bit better, I hope. So by day 3, day 4, we can maybe start looking at what work we've missed. So I want all of you to understand and hear these words. If you're ever missing from school, you have to know you missed stuff. It wasn't like just because you weren't here, we all were like, oh, Sally's not at school today, we're just not going to do anything. No, we did work when you weren't here. And so because we are using the Google Classroom, now you have the opportunity to go to your Google Classroom and see what you missed. So you need to check the material. It's not going to show up on your to-do list. You have to check the material to see if there's videos that you need to watch. And sometimes those videos might ask you to take notes like you're doing right now. Like my NTI kids, when they watch the videos, they should be using their math notebook and taking notes over the stuff that I'm teaching. So that when they do return to school, they have a notebook full of math stuff just like you do. Okay? And so I just want everybody to know that if you are ever sick from school, always use the Google Classroom to see what you missed. Okay? All right, so moving into chapter 11 on subtracting. When we think about subtracting decimals, the thing that we learned with adding decimals that was the most important was what? Yes, so let's make sure we don't forget that for this chapter. So let's give ourselves a little star or two to mean important stuff. And remind yourself that you have to align the decimals when you subtract decimals. And that is so, so, so important. Now, if we were adding, that was really only the important thing, the most important thing we had to remember.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing with subtraction that's important. Anybody want to take a guess at what it is? Rory, what do you think it is?
The bigger number always has to go.
Oh, okay, I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, we better put that because she is so right. That has to happen. So let's give this one 2 stars also. Biggest number must be at the top. Good one, Rory. That's so important, and I wasn't even thinking about that. You got to guess what you think, Connor?
Just subtract or subtracting.
You talking about in the stuff I wrote at the top?
I know. Yeah.
I don't understand what you're saying. Align the decimals when subtract decimals, like when you're subtracting them, just make sure you line them up just like we're adding. That what you were asking? Okay. Brady, what do you think?
When you have to borrow, if the number's not bigger than the one on the bottom, you have to borrow.
Okay, but that's just a normal subtraction number. I'm talking about when we subtract with decimals though. There's another thing that we have to always remember to do that we didn't always have to do with addition. Yeah?
Don't forget to put the decimal when when you're subtracting it.
Well, yes, but that is always true when we add or subtract. I'm looking for somebody to see if they can figure out. There's one more thing that is you have to do when you subtract decimals.
So in adding, some of us needed to put a 0 at the end, and subtraction we have to.
Yes, go get you a piece of candy, Colin. Big brain Colin today stepping up with the big answer. So in case you didn't hear what he said, I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. Okay? But what he said was that when we were adding decimals and there was like a digit missing, we didn't really have to put the 0 in there. But in subtraction, we have to. So we're going to tell ourselves that we must, and I'm going to write the word must in all caps, put zeros in all missing spaces of number. Now, because it will help to see an example of what I mean by that, some of you are like knowing exactly what I mean. But then there are some of you that are like not super sure. So I'm going to give you an example to show what I mean with all three of those examples, okay? So, let's copy my example. I'm gonna go give me a new page. All right, so here's my example. So let's say, because just like subtracting, or just like adding decimals, when we subtract them, they're probably not gonna line everything up for you. They're probably gonna write it in a big long sentence, and you're gonna have to then rewrite it, aren't you? So let's look and let's do an example such as, I don't know, let's say 19.2 minus 8.364. Okay, so there's our example. So when we think about those little starred notes that we just said, the very first star that we wrote said, what do we have to do? How? Align the decimals. Now, line is a fancy word meaning line them up, okay? The second star that Rory gave us was what, Bree?
Biggest number must be at the top.
Good. So when we look at these two numbers, which one's the biggest one, Brayden?
19.2.
So now you're all starting to understand why they made us learn like greater than, less than, or equal to?
Yes.
Because now if we were never taught that, we wouldn't know which one was bigger. So I'm going to start to rewrite this, and I'm going to put 19.2 at the top, and then I'm going to put the other number lining up my decimal directly underneath. So my 8's going to go under my 9, my 3 is going to go under my 2, my 6, and then my 4. And again, as we know, we got to transfer things correctly. We have to make sure that we line things up correctly. And then the other thing that, guess what happens a lot here, kiddos? Wrong operation. I see a lot of kids who add when they were supposed to subtract. That's a place that big time confusion happens. Because your brain naturally wants to put numbers together, not take them apart. So it wants to add those things, and we're saying, nope, it's time to subtract. What's the third star say to do? Tessa?
You have to fill in missing spots with zeros.
So do you see missing spots?
Yeah.
Tell me where you see missing spots. And I'm going to actually make those missing spots a different color because they weren't really part of the number. Where are they?
Hundreds and thousands.
Good. So I have an empty spot here that I have to fill in my 0, an empty spot here that I have to fill in my 0. Do you see another one?
In front of the 8.
Yeah, in here. Did I change the value of either of those numbers by putting those zeros there?
No.
No. Wow, isn't this amazing? That's why we learned equivalent decimals. We could add a 0 to the beginning or the end of a number and it's not going to change it. This is amazing. All the stuff that I've taught you is now still coming back. This is cool stuff. So guess what? Now you're left with just subtracting. Okay, now kids, listen. This is where we have a big heart-to-heart team talk. This is supposed to be a new skill. Subtracting is not. But a lot of you have proven to me that you forgot how to subtract. And that is a little bit scary. It's a little scary. And I don't mean that to be silly. I mean that to be serious. You in 5th grade can't forget how to subtract. But a lot of us do. So we are, believe it or not, going to walk through this problem, even though some of you are sitting in your seat right now saying, I know how to do it, I've already solved it, I got the answer, this is what it is. I've got people in this audience sitting here right now that I know are going to subtract this wrong. How many of you, before I put that purple 0 above that 4, be honest, would have just dropped that 4 down there under the answer line? Some of you would have. But now that I filled that 0 in, that little rhyme we learned in like 2nd grade, more on the floor, go next door, borrow 10 more. Like, hello, now it's popping up. So 0 minus 4 is not 4. Is it? No. So we're going to see if we can subtract this thing right. So you all try it. Go. And if you already got it, just take a chill pill. The rest of you, try to subtract. Hold on. Put your hand down. Rest your arm. I see so many armpits all day long. I do. I mean, they always sticking their armpit in the air.
Are we just doing that section of the whole?
No, I want you to get an answer.
Hello?
Yes?
Hi, can you go ahead and say, or what?
Yes, I will. Just leave it there, buddy. Okay, when you got an answer, stick your hand on your face.
Well, you're supposed to do that.
Actually, on your head, on your head. Your hair will protect you. All right. I have, you know what the Spears office is? Need a pencil? No, get a pencil.
I know where it is.
You want to walk with me? Well, yes, you can walk with me because you were with me yesterday after school. So he's going to walk with you to show you where she's at, and then you come right back.
I
Okay?
think I know, but I'm not.
That's all right. He'll help guide the way. Okay, so let's see who got this. Put your hand down. We're going to work together now to solve this, but I'm going to ask this last question. If you have a shield up, would you please drop your shields now? Because a snack is officially over, and they do get in the way of people in the back being able to see. Okay? Sophia, come on, shield down. Baby. All right, so let's start subtracting first. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is I don't want you guys being little robots in the classroom, like I'm supposed to borrow the number next door, and so I just draw a line and make this a 10. I want you to really know what's going on. And this is me seriously asking you. In this example, what place is my 0 and my 4 sitting in, everybody? Thousandths place. So in my thousandths place right now, if I have a 0 on top and a 4 on the bottom, can I do that subtracting? No. So I've got to go next door. Next door is another 0. Does the number next door have anything to give me? No. So I have to keep moving. I'm going to go to the next neighbor. That neighbor is a 2. Does that neighbor have something I can borrow? Yes. Okay. I'm going to actually come over here to the board only because I don't want. Hold on. 0, 3, 6. Okay. So when I go to the 2 and I borrow, now here's what happens. Some of you, when you were taught to subtract, you started crossing things out before you ever borrowed. That's a bad habit. Because now you don't even know what's supposed to go where. So I'm going to ask that if that is the habit you have, like if you just start crossing things out before you've ever found a number to borrow, I'm going to ask you to stop doing that. Because that's a bad habit. And you're not even going to know what you need to borrow until you have found the place that has something to give. What place in this problem has something to give? Max. The tenths. So once I've found that place, I'm going to cross out my 2. And what is my 2 going to become? A 1. Now this is when I want you to say, I'm not a robot student, Miss Malone. I know that when I crossed out that 2 and I turned it into a 1, I didn't really borrow a 1. What did I borrow? I borrowed 1/10 because it's in the tenths place. So I borrowed 1/10. And that 1/10 that I borrowed is going to travel to this place. What's that place? That's the hundredths. And I'm going to put that little tenth that I borrowed right there in the hundredths place. But what place am I trying to get back to? The thousandths. So what do I now have to do to the hundredths place? Everybody, I gotta borrow. And so if I had 10 and I borrow 100th, I'm left with 9/100ths. And then that one that I borrowed keeps moving down the line, and now it's here. It's made it to the thousandths place. Do I have to borrow here? No, because I've made it back to where I started. So now I'm ready to do some math. What's 10 minus 4? 6. Okay, so let's go back to what this problem was a minute ago. A minute ago, this problem was 19.2 minus 8.364. And I asked some of you to be honest with me. I said, if we didn't fill in those zeros, how many of you would have stuck a 4 under that line? Look how many of you would have done that. And would you have ended up with the right answer? No. And I bet if you would have stuck a 4 under that line, then in the next place you probably would have stuck a 6 under that line. And let's actually do the work. What's 9 minus 6?
3.
Would you have gotten the right answer?
No.
So are you starting to see how you must put the 0 in the empty spaces? So for those of you who sometimes like to hear my words, and some of you who don't, make sure you hear what I'm saying. You have to put that 0 in that empty space. If you don't, it's going to mess up the whole problem. Okay? Let's finish this thing up. 2 minus 3. Well, here's when some of you would have gone, I can't do that. But your whole problem would have been messed up, wouldn't it? Let's go ahead and finish this problem out to see how messed up this problem would have been. 2 minus 3 I can't do, right, people? So I would have to borrow. And then this would turn into a 12. 12 minus 3 was 9. 8 minus 8 was 0. Without adding the zeros, you would have said the answer was 10.964. And I would have put a big giant X on your paper. Because that's not the right answer. Let's come over here and really find the right answer. 1 minus 3, can I do?
No.
Borrow from my 9. This becomes 11. 11 minus 3 is?
8.
8. 8 minus 8 is?
0.
1 minus 0 is?
1.
10.836 is what we're looking at. Who got it?
I almost got that wrong, then I realized I turned the line 0 to 10.
So, let's, hang on a second, baby. So, here's what I want y'all to do. If you didn't get it, rather than share with me what you did wrong, be your own detective. Find your mess up. Don't look at your answer and go, oh, I was so close. I had 10.846. Well, 10.846 is not 10.836, right? They're different numbers. So even though you were that close, you still were wrong. So don't be okay with just being close. Want to be right. So if you missed it, look right now at your problem and ask yourself, how did I miss this thing? And see if you can figure it out. First off, I want to see by show of hands who got the right answer. So literally just got the whole class. All right, are you ready for the fun news?
1.
That's pretty much what chapter 11 is.
Yay!
All I want you to know is how to subtract decimals. And if you can remember those 3 stars, which is line the decimals up, put the big number at the top, and add the zeros in the empty gaps, you will be successful with chapter 11. Now, if you missed this, I want you to check and see, be your own detective. But listen, people, when something seems so easy, that's when mistakes happen. So I'm nervous that some of you are going to look at this and go, oh, this is so easy. I know I can do this, no problem. And you're going to forget to add the zeros. You're going to forget to borrow. You're going to borrow wrong. All that stuff that you were taught in 2nd grade, that's where the mistakes are going to pop up. Because this isn't hard. But it is a place that because you think it's so simple, it's where you mess up, okay? So I need to see a workbook, because I want you to practice this tonight, but we're not going in order of the workbook. Who's got their workbook that I can see really quickly? Not notebook, workbook. Wait, wait, I got one. Oh my gosh, everybody, I got this. Okay. All right, so we are going to go to a lesson in your workbook. It's not gonna put us going in order. Okay? Because you all are such smarty pants. I know you can do this. I want you to go to I want you to go to lesson 11-4, which is page grade. You just okay.
187.
What?
187.
Bring it back. 187. And actually, just page 187. Just page 187. That's it. All right. This is due to me tomorrow, but listen, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm taking this as a grade, not a participation grade. A right-wrong grade. So if you're taking this home, you have anybody at home that can check this. So we're gonna start to make sure that people at home check our work, right? All right.